documents. I think there's so many powerful people that are on those lists. There's so many powerful people that went and partied. Air quotes, partied. And how many of them went to the Diddy parties? Have you been paying attention to the trial?
Oh, yeah.
Trials. Wild. Why?
When even Joe Rogan, a man known for going off script, begins dropping hints about sealed information from an active federal trial, people pay attention. On a recent podcast episode, Rogan stunned his audience by claiming that classified-level discoveries from Diddy's case are far more serious than the public knows. What he said didn't sound like gossip. It sounded like a warning. According to Rogan, what's being uncovered in sealed court files could shake the entertainment world to its core and possibly explain the silence of certain stars, the vanishing of others, and why this trial is being watched so closely by people far beyond the music industry. For months now, headlines surrounding Sean Diddy Combs have only scratched the surface. We've seen the federal raids, the lawsuits, the silent exits of former friends and colleagues. But what most of the public doesn't realize is that the real story may be hidden behind sealed documents. And according to Joe Rogan, those documents contain information that has never been publicly disclosed. On a recent episode of The Joe Rogan Experience, the host began addressing the Diddy case not with jokes or speculation, but with a shift in tone that immediately caught listeners off guard.
What's going on, Jamie?
I don't know. There's a lot going on. A lot of rumors are flying.
The rumors are that Diddy was running some kind of Epstein-type deal where he was filming everybody, right?
That's the rumors, yeah. I don't know that there's any proof or anything.
Dude, when Homeland Security invades your house,
You got problems.
with dudes with guns and body armor.
Someone said that they weren't there to take stuff. They were there to delete everything. Like the real people that were in there, you know.
Oh,
Like
that's
the same
funny.
thing with Epstein.
Oh, that's funny.
Rogan claimed he had spoken with sources who described parts of the investigation as heavily classified and too sensitive for the press. He went on to suggest that this case is not just about one man or one label. It involves powerful names, secret meetings, and events that connect the worlds of music, tech, media, and beyond. Rogan didn't name everyone involved, but he made it clear this case is bigger than anyone thought, and the people watching it unfold are not just fans or journalists. They're institutions. Joe Rogan and Sean Diddy Combs have operated in the same entertainment universe for decades, but from very different corners. While Diddy built his empire through hip-hop, fashion, and nightlife, Rogan carved his path through comedy, MMA, and long-form media commentary. They've both achieved massive cultural influence, but their personal circles haven't notably overlapped. And that's exactly what makes Joe Rogan's recent remarks so striking. Over the years, there's been no public record of direct friendship between Rogan and Diddy. They haven't appeared together at events, collaborated on projects, or shared media spaces. Unlike some celebrities who have personal or professional history with Diddy, Rogan doesn't owe him anything, which means he's free to speak without industry pressure or loyalty. That distance gives Rogan something many others don't have: independence.
The P. Diddy thing's just complete unchecked depravity, like involving young singers, young children.
48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. Where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose. It's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
Do you think P. Diddy is in prison waiting for the Clintons to just kill him?
I don't think the Clintons were involved with P. Diddy, do you?
No, but Epstein.
Was Epstein involved with P. Diddy?
Pedophile rings have to cross points, you know.
He's not tied to music labels, he doesn't rely on celebrity guests to stay relevant, and he doesn't answer to executives who might be connected to the case. His platform, The Joe Rogan Experience, runs on a model of complete creative control, giving him the freedom to bring up what others might avoid, especially in cases involving legal sensitivity or behind-the-scenes power structures. But Rogan isn't speaking out for clout. His commentary on Diddy isn't based on personal conflict or rivalry. It's based on concern about the growing pattern of silence, sealed files, and unexplained celebrity behavior. In that way, he's positioned more as an observer, one who has access to high-level sources and who knows how to read patterns across industries. And while the two may not have shared a stage, their spheres have brushed against each other. Both have dealt with media censorship, image control, and the politics of celebrity culture. Rogan has often criticized the way powerful figures in entertainment use money, influence, and PR teams to shape the truth. A point that aligns directly with how Diddy's public reputation has been protected for so long, despite years of whispered rumors and quiet exits. So when Joe Rogan talks about sealed files, hidden evidence, and power structures surrounding Diddy, he's not speaking as an enemy or even as a peer. He's speaking as someone with no skin in the game, and that might make his warnings the most honest of all.
I think it's over.
You think it's over?
I think it's over for him as like a figure in entertainment.
Right. But do you think it's over as him as far as
jail?
like he gets a cell right next to R. Kelly?
When the feds rolled up, with the fucking Hummers and shit, they're like, it wasn't about Diddy. It was about if there were tapes of powerful people there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
They were the ones that called. They're like, I need to protect myself, so go in there with all the things and rip any tapes or any evidence.
Prince Harry was hanging with Diddy.
I mean, everybody hung with Diddy. That's the other tricky thing. Like, Diddy hung out with everybody. And I've spoken to a bunch of people who are like, yo, great dude, like, always there for you, never asked for a single thing.
Till 1 a.m.
And then freak off.
Everybody says, get out of the house.
Joe Rogan's remarks didn't come during a typical pop culture conversation. They came during a broader discussion about how elite industries often operate behind layers of public relations, corporate protection, and selective transparency. According to Rogan, people close to legal and investigative circles began quietly reaching out to him months ago, once Diddy's name started circulating beyond gossip headlines and into sealed courtrooms. On air, Rogan described hearing that a significant portion of the Diddy investigation remains sealed, not only to protect identities or reputations, but because the content of the investigation crosses into federal-level intelligence territory. That doesn't necessarily mean national security in the traditional sense. It means the material involves communications, financial activities, and associations between powerful individuals, some of whom hold influence over public institutions, corporations, or law enforcement channels themselves. Rogan stressed that the sealed documents likely contain more than civil testimony. He claimed there are recordings, financial trails, and digital evidence, obtained legally through surveillance and subpoenas, that have not been made available to the public, the press, or even many attorneys working in entertainment law. According to his sources, some of this material was collected over years, not just months, which could explain why the FBI conducted raids in multiple cities simultaneously, including Los Angeles and Miami. What shocked listeners most was Rogan's claim that some of the information gathered during the investigation could disrupt relationships between media companies and entertainment figures, suggesting that major platforms, studios, and executives may have looked the other way or were actively involved during moments that are now under federal review. He did not name names, but he emphasized that this case is being handled with extreme caution, not just because of who Diddy is, but because of who else was around him and what was tolerated over the years. Rogan described it as a situation where too many people knew too much for too long.
Sometimes you have to tell Diddy no.
Oh, man, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, man.
Sean Diddy Combs' alleged list of accomplices to be revealed soon. The names will shock you, attorney says. Whoa.
I think he's going to sing, if I got invited to the white party, I'd have gone.
Especially if you didn't know.
Of course, no one knew. No one
Right.
knew.
If
And
you
then
don't know, you're
find
just
out.
a celebrity and you know, oh, Jennifer Lopez is going to be there. Oh, Rick
That's what I'm
Ross is
saying.
going to be there. Everyone's going to be there.
And-
That would be a cool place. I want to meet those people.
Fact.
And unlike reporters who have legal constraints or corporate bosses, Rogan is independently funded and able to speak freely, which is why his audience listens so closely when he starts referencing legal cases, sealed files, and federal agencies. His network of contacts isn't made up of gossip bloggers or fan forums. Over the years, Rogan has developed relationships with former CIA analysts, FBI whistleblowers, cybersecurity experts, and former prosecutors, many of whom have appeared on his show. When he speaks vaguely about being told things he can't say on air, it's not just to be mysterious. It's often because the information came from people who actually know what's going on but can't go public. The fact that he's saying any of this on air is itself a signal. It means that some of the information is starting to leak, and that what's in those sealed documents may eventually reach the surface. Rogan compared the Diddy case to other high-profile investigations that began quietly and escalated into full-blown scandals. But he made a point that many legal analysts have echoed. This investigation isn't following the usual celebrity scandal playbook. There are no paparazzi court appearances, no endless media interviews with attorneys, no predictable public apology tour. Instead, the case is being treated like a serious, ongoing federal probe.
Yeah, it's just wild that apparently he had cameras in every room of his house. That's what they're saying. Has that been verified?
I don't think it's been verified, and I think like the Epstein shit, it never will be. Now, I'm not saying that he's like Epstein. I think he could have some fucking wild parties, etc.
But if he was filming everybody...
If he's filming everybody, I understand why Hummer showed up to the house. Because people who went to the parties were like, get those things.
Hundreds of hidden cameras discovered in Diddy's homes, lawsuit says.
Oh, well then it's a wrap. Done.
Hundreds.
Yeah, we'll never see any of that footage.
The multiple raids on Diddy's properties were not random. They were part of a coordinated operation involving surveillance, tech seizure, and back-channel interviews. Some reports suggest data from devices, emails, and encrypted communications were obtained, which could explain why so much of the evidence remains under seal. This level of discretion isn't used for minor charges. It's used when the government believes a wider network may be exposed, or when there's concern that leaking information could interfere with ongoing actions. Rogan pointed out that this is the same kind of legal structure used in complex cases involving racketeering, trafficking, or corruption, where multiple individuals are connected not just through friendship or business, but through potential complicity. What's also unusual is how many celebrities have gone silent. Past collaborators, label mates, and longtime insiders, from A-list names to former employees, have refused to speak publicly. Some have deleted photos, others have stopped appearing at events, a few have reportedly changed legal representation or hired security. All of this, Rogan suggested, may not be random, but a reaction to what's in those sealed files. When someone like Joe Rogan brings these claims forward, it often signals that information is about to surface, either through leaks, media investigations, or unsealed court updates. In past cases, Rogan has spoken this way shortly before documents were released or whistleblowers came forward. He hinted that certain media outlets have the story, but are waiting for clearance, protection, or additional confirmation before going public. He also hinted that names outside the music industry may appear, including people in tech, production, and even financial institutions. The reason? These individuals may have helped enable certain behaviors by funding, facilitating, or ignoring red flags. What happens next depends on what is unsealed, and whether anyone in Diddy's circle decides to speak. If even part of what Rogan described is true, this case could move beyond one individual and become a larger reckoning about power, protection, and silence in the entertainment industry. Since Joe Rogan's remarks surfaced, there's been a quiet but noticeable shift in how public figures, especially those with past ties to Diddy, are behaving. While no celebrity has directly commented on Rogan's claims, their actions tell a story. Some artists and insiders are scrubbing old posts, avoiding interviews, and declining invitations to speak on entertainment panels or podcasts. These aren't typical moves, they're calculated forms of distance. Several media personalities who once discussed Diddy freely have suddenly gone quiet. Industry reporters who previously commented on the case are now saying, "There's more going on than I can say publicly." And former collaborators, from producers to stylists, are either keeping completely silent or speaking very cautiously. What's especially telling is that even artists who publicly defended Diddy in the past have stopped mentioning him at all. No anniversary posts, no throwback shoutouts, no tweets about their shared history. It's as if they've been advised to cut all ties, publicly and privately, in anticipation of what might be coming. Behind the scenes, sources close to the industry report that some celebrities are quietly reviewing their legal exposure. Anyone who has signed NDAs, attended private events, or worked under Diddy's label during key years may now be consulting attorneys. Not necessarily because they're guilty of anything, but because they fear proximity to whatever is in those sealed documents. Even brand partnerships are being affected. Some luxury labels and corporate sponsors who worked with Diddy or bad boy artists are now shifting their marketing away from hip-hop figures connected to that era. It's not a coordinated campaign, but the sudden pullback is noticeable, quiet, subtle, and telling. The sealed evidence in Diddy's case is believed to include private texts, emails, and DMs taken from devices seized during federal raids, possibly showing conversations about events, NDAs, or behind-the-scenes coordination. There are also rumors of video or audio recordings from private gatherings, surveillance footage, or material submitted by insiders. Financial records may reveal unusual payments that match the timeline of certain claims. What makes this sealed evidence so important is that it might not only confirm existing allegations, it could expose more people, more events, and a much wider network than anyone expected. If Joe Rogan's claims are accurate, and if even part of the sealed evidence eventually becomes public, it could completely reshape how this trial is perceived. Right now, the public sees the headlines, lawsuits, accusations, and legal moves. But sealed evidence, if unsealed, could provide confirmation, context, or connections that turn speculation into structured legal arguments. For example, if the documents contain verified communications, video evidence, or financial records that link Diddy's actions to others, then those individuals could face questioning, or even charges, depending on their level of involvement. The case would no longer be about a single figure. It would become systemic, showing how certain behaviors were protected or overlooked by a much larger group of powerful players. This is why the case feels so heavy, and why Rogan's comments hit so hard. Not because they offer graphic detail, but because they suggest that the truth, when it finally comes out, won't just change Diddy's future. It could rewrite how the public sees an entire chapter of music and media history. When someone like Joe Rogan speaks, not as a reporter, but as someone with reach and access, the world listens. And in this case, his words weren't just commentary, they were a signal that something much bigger is unfolding behind the curtain. That this trial may not be about one man, but about systems that protected him. That what's sealed today may shake industries tomorrow. As more documents surface and silence turns into testimony, we may finally start to see the full picture. Not just of Diddy, but of everyone who stood beside him and stayed quiet. The only question now is, who speaks next? And who stays silent for good? Stay tuned. This is just the beginning.